Welcome, everybody. The third day of the NLC Spring Split 2021 is underway. And of course, before we start, I've got to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Telia, MasterCard, and El Gigant, and thank you so much. Of course, I'm again this week joined by Gulborg, Trouble, and Foxy D down there in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Of course, I'll bring them in just a moment. But before I do that, I've got to let you know how you get involved at home. If you would like to win yourself some juicy looking RP, you can go over to our social media channels. And yeah, I'm doing a Foxtrot accent. I'm kind of half-accent. Yeah, juicy looking RP, mate. Go over to our social media channels where we are giving away RP throughout the course of the NLC. You can find the NLC by taking it into any of your preferred social media channels. Relatively easy. I'm not going to guide you through it. You guys all have brains. Okay, so we've had 2 days of games already, of course. We've had some exciting action. So I guess we should take a quick look at where we are, guys. You know, just have a look at, take stock of the situation, take a look at who's won some matches and who hasn't, and can go over to Group A and start off. And as you can see, XL up there at 2-0 right now. They had a pretty good game yesterday, actually, kind of bounced back from what was a relatively tough first game in the NLC. Tricked at 1-0. We have a couple of teams, Godsend and Granite, at 1-1 apiece. And of course, Gulborg, you know, I'm going to bring it over to you to start off with. I get the impression that you're liking Tricked, even, you know, you've seen that one game of them and getting the impression that you're kind of excited about them as a roster.
Yeah, so I think that Trick brought something different to the league this time. They kind of succeeded with what I think Dusty failed with last split, where they were very creative in draft, but Trick played phenomenally around the pressure that they drafted with. And Ash and Maokai in the bot lane both went Imperial Mandate, and they just threw out ultimates every time. Essentially, they didn't get any kills, but what they succeeded was they kept poking down the enemy AD carry. He didn't get any resources, he was just starved out, and they were just winning off priority. And I love that kind of playstyle coming out because it's different.
Yeah, and we get to see them in action today as well. So we'll get to see if Gulborg's hype lives up to its expectations. We'll have a look at Group B now as well. We've had a couple of games from Group B, albeit a little less than we've seen in Group A. But as you can see, Barrage, Singularity, and M&M are all 1 apiece, with Fnatic, Riddle, and Cova down at 0-1. And Trouble, I know there is a roster on this page that you're particularly excited about. So please reveal to the audience which roster here you think is looking good.
Okay, I have to reveal that I am not only a Granite fangirl, I am also an M&M fangirl, because they almost got relegated last season. They were stuck there at the bottom of the standings, and now they're coming in. They're bringing another Nordic champion in their crew, in the likes of Raxi, the jungler. We talked to him yesterday, and he said how he sort of guided the team through with the shot call, and he asked for the Maokai to stop that wave in the mid lane so they couldn't end the game. And, you know, these are the decision makings of a champion coming back into the league, and together with the entire crew, they look extremely strong. You know, their early game laning phase was on spot, and then when they did start making the mistakes, they actually had the mental fortitude to pull it back together and figure out a way to win from a deficit. So I think this is the making of something really promising in the league.
Yeah, we had some real corkers of games yesterday as well. I was having a ton of fun watching the NLC. Singularity, as you saw there, 3 Brits on the team. Of course, they were going to win. And Cova M&M, as you mentioned, you're hyping up MMM here. Trouble, I think they had... This game was really interesting. It was the most one-sided, not one-sided game that I think I've ever seen. M&M were absolutely dominating and still found a way to almost lose. But all in all, so much entertainment happening yesterday, and I'm hoping today can live up to that as well.
Yeah, I think yesterday as well, Godsend definitely showed up. I think a lot of us were expecting Dusty to actually take it, but they've come in and they're not looking as clean as we expected them to. Like, we see a lot of core issues coming out with them, laning phase not really paying off, jungle pathing sometimes faltering, and I'm kind of looking for them in the couple next week to bounce back because they're not having a good time yesterday.
Yeah, and actually you now can see on your screens that Granite game versus XL, and you know, whilst I praised XL and the fact that they were looking good in that second game, I've got to give it to Granite. They made XL work for it. Like, they made XL work for that win, and we have been silently hyped about Granite since their first game on the NLC. They're a complete rookie team, of course, and have not yet had that much experience in competitive, and they are already making a name for themselves on the other side of our bracket here in the NLC. But of course, that was yesterday. Wow, my tongue is not working at the start of the broadcast. Sorry, guys.
Yep.
Let's take a look at what we've got coming up today. We have 4 matches as per usual. Nordavind Tricked to start things off. We have Riddle versus Eminem, Fnatic Rising versus Kova, and Singularity versus Barrage. Lots of good matches here today. I think the Singularity Barrage match, again, going to be a corker. But you may have seen a name on there that you don't know much about. Obviously, we have a couple of new teams in the NLC. We have both Kova and Granite, but of course, Kova coming from the Finnish league. A lot of the players and a lot of the viewers might not know enough about this team. So we had a brief chat and a brief look at Kova as a roster coming into the NLC.
Oh, big shockwave. They're actually looking to dive in. Snorvy's going for the shutdown.
Overall, we've been rated pretty low. I think we're more so 6th or 7th, depending on how the standings are in the end. I think that we can upset some of the teams.
Relatively new team to this stage, I would say, and it's pretty big opportunity for all of us, and we're looking to prove ourselves here.
We are like very experienced together, and then we have some new players. We have Outlandish, who's like pro div superstar, and he has really cute bunnies.
At the beginning, a bit suspicious about how good the players are, because it's always better to have some insurance with names, but I had a lot of tryouts, and like Kova impressed me the most, because like bot lane is playing for so long already together. We felt the synergy and everything went really smooth.
A lot of their grip hold, their pressure on this game, and Snorvy's looking for air. Oh my lord!
I'm super hyped. I'm like so excited to play against these good teams, like the academy teams. Like this will be one of the best moments that we have.
I feel really confident. We are gonna go there and we're gonna smash.
Oh, good to hear from Kova. And actually, you know, despite Eminem taking the win, that was an insane game that they played yesterday. Was definitely the most back and forth, as Foxy said, the most one-sided, not one-sided game I think we've ever seen on the NLC. So definitely some talent there for Kova. I don't think they're going to roll over. You know, I think it's going to be another new team that's going to come into the league, and they are really going to swing hard at the teams that we've had in the NLC previously. So I'm very excited to see how Kova manage as we go on. But of course, we have to look towards that first game that we have today, which is that Nordavind versus Tricked Esports matchup, which I'm really excited about. I'm very excited about the this first matchup here. And I know, for instance, Gulbog, you've been hyped on Tricked for a while, but these rosters, I don't think they're that far apart.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Sorry, I saw at the end and I just assumed that someone didn't see the pass. But going on to it, I think that you're completely right. I think a lot of them match up in terms of laning, at least. I think that both mid laners here, control mage kind of style, both AD carries are someone you can play for, and top laners are definitely something that can get the brawl going. I think the only thing that separates these two teams are the junglers, whereas you can tell that Shav, kind of, if we're supposed to over-exaggerate after the first 2 games we watched, Sharp looked way more comfortable in this meta, whereas Flippers looked a bit more uncertain. And as we've already talked about, Flipper did used to have that facilitating role in his team. So now it's kind of like, after the first game, I see him as the weakness. But of course, that's only because I'm over-exaggerating after 1 game.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's not analysis. I don't know what is. 1 game, drawing the expectations, tell it how it is. I mean, but a name like Flipper in the jungle. I mean, come on, that's almost as good as Taxter when we had him in XL. Like that, he's born to be a jungler.
Yeah, although Flipper will not go level 3, not looking at his lanes, trying to get Skullcrow.
Yo,
right?
That's how you play jungle. Trouble.
I'm just gonna jump onto Nordavind because I would like to see Kerberos unlocked. I want to see this guy on something completely crazy. Give him Tryndamere, give him Darius, give him Riven, give him Camille, give him Fiora. Give him something. He can run it down the top lane all the way to the Nexus, whilst the rest of the team do their own thing. Now, the thing that clashes a little bit with me here is how, you know, the new ADCs are coming in, and Crisp is sort of like the star of the team again in Nordavind. And with the ADCs being so strong and you having to play around them, and we saw Nordavind playing around Crispberg, I'm just not sure how Kerberos and his peak style fits into this team. This is what I want to see, possibly like a 1 and 4 trying to work for them, because I just was not completely sold on Kerberos on something that's just not very aggressive.
I just want to see the mid lane priority coming into this play because you mentioned it yourself. Bot lane plays a huge part into this game. The junglers as well, because that's where they're diverting their attention as well. So I want to see from the side of Trick that they go on to have this priority in the mid lane for champions like Syndra. They control mage it, someone that gives you the move first. As we saw Paulson do in his game, he was extremely good at doing it. Every time a skirmisher was around, it was because it came out from a mid lane priority. And that's why I think kind of gives him the edge here. I think that Trick is being the underdog here, arguably so. But I'm hoping that Paulson can upset this mid lane, gain the priority from Ericsson, and have his influence on the map.
It's interesting because I've always seen the Trick laners as super strong though. Like Ericsson, Ericsson and Paulson are both like obviously this is a mid lane matchup. They're both incredibly good solo laners, and I think that's the case across both of these games. I think both teams are going to have really strong solo laners, and so I think we should definitely be keeping an eye on how the jungle is going to influence that. I'm especially excited to see Kerberos in the top lane, as you mentioned. I really do want to see old school Kerberos, like unlocked Kerberos, KO Kerberos. I just want to see that kind of play. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. I think we've had a lot of. You know what's really interesting so far in the NLC? We've had a lot of close games. I think compared to previous season, if you look back at the way we started in the NLC in the previous season, a lot of games felt one-sided. Even middle of the table games, a lot of them ended up feeling one-sided. I think we've had so many close games so far in the NLC, which has been really crazy. Speaking of close, prediction scores. Let's take a look at today's prediction scores and see where we are at. And you can see I decided to buy into the
come on, Foxy.
trouble. And I basically copied Trouble, even though I did my predictions after. Yeah, I basically copied Trouble, but I didn't actually mean to copy Trouble, but I've copied Trouble. So
it's okay. You're in the winning team, Scoundrel.
Exactly.
You're doing it
Queen of
correct.
the North, Queen of the predictions. I need to go down her line. Foxy voted very interestingly for Kova versus Fnatic, and he's going to lead you to believe that he intended to do that, but he only realized that that Kova were playing Fnatic after he made the predictions. So.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? So, I'm testing Fnatic's spirit here, you know.
Oh, I see.
I was the only one to predict against them when they played Barrage and they lost. And you know what? I'm daring them to do that again because Fnatic, you know, this is a team that we have high expectations for. We're thinking this might be the best team on paper in the NLC, maybe top 2, if not top 1. And they have not showed that so far. They did play with a sub in the top lane, but I honestly think, you know, regardless of the sub, they just look really not great. So I'm expecting so much more out of Fnatic coming into today, but you know, Kova, I don't think you can count them out, and I love a good underdog story. So,
of course you do. And actually, what's really interesting, despite I think realistically that first game being close, Guildbog's the only person that predicted Tricked. Do you think the prediction split is unfair here, Guildbog? Do you think this is genuinely unfair?
So I think what happened here is that I think like the Nordavind roster on paper is extremely good, and I think as you said yourself, this matchup is extremely close between them. So I understand that you guys are going for Nordavind, but you're missing one pivotal part in this, and that is one team is Norwegian and the other one is Danish, and that's where you're making your analysis. That's where it's wrong.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, are we back now? Are we back?
We're definitely
we're back
back.
to
So,
Denmark.
because we were like on a ship going towards Finland yesterday. Now she's taking the cruise back.
I didn't go for Kova yesterday.
Did you? I can't remember. I cannot remember. Anyway, guys, Tricked, obviously a roster that we've seen quite a lot of in the NLC. But like Cove, we spent some time with them and decided to have a chat to Tricked in this upcoming NLC season. So let's take a look at how they are feeling coming into it.
And when the Ash Arrow hits...
My team is Tricked. We have Nille in top lane, Fliver in jungle, me in the mid lane, Edu at the bot lane, AD carry, and Bjorn Balu on the support role.
Got the trust of the organization to create a team, and he contacted all the players during tryouts, and we were the ones who performed the best.
Irritatingly poking you right now.
Early on, me and Vendetto agreed that if we wanted to win, we had to live the lifestyle of a professional team. So we are fixing sleep schedules.
We are very mentally prepared and cool when it comes to other things, and I think that also comes from our practice and scrims is like preparing us for these situations so we can actually deal with them in the games as well.
41 minutes on the clock and a triple kill to round it out. Trick take the win.
I think we have a great chance to go far. I think we have competent people in all roles.
I think we will win the split. I'm pretty hyped.
paradise.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC. We've got our first game coming your way, and of course, that will be Nordavind versus Tricked. And again, I think, despite what the predictions may say, this should be a relatively close affair. I think there is lots of talent in the lanes. You've got Chrisberg and Touch versus Achu and Balu, and Chrisberg and Achu are both extremely experienced AD carries. Kerberos and Nile, although they have very separate play styles, they're both great laners, and Ericsson and Paulson, like we've talked about, I think are both great solo laners in their own respect. So, I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be either explosive or just, incredibly close across the game.
What I find extremely interesting about these two teams is that in this AD carry meta, with all the super overpowered items that you can build, the Kaisers, the Jins, Achu is the type of player that favors his AD mages, his poke champions. He played Ziggs last season down there. Now he played the Mandate Muramana Ashe down the bot lane together with a Mandate Maokai. The poke was immense. He was just born to play purely annoying champions and just winning through pressure in lane and also mental pressure of how annoying the champions he plays are, right? Whilst Chrisberg, on the other hand, he's like the true mechanics god. He'll play the Aphelios, he'll play the Kai'Sa, he'll play these champions where you see the opening, you press your buttons, and if you press them in the correct order, if you make the right decision making, he makes that a completely pop-off moment. It's kind of like the Chrisberg carry, like the big highlight comes from the sky and he starts using the Aron Aphelios and everyone dies. So I just like seeing this stylistic difference between the two ADCs, because Achu and Balu don't necessarily get too much attention down bot, yet they do seem to win their lane with how they play. Whilst on the other hand, in the previous season, we didn't see Chrisberg's team get much attention, but now we see that Sharp and Ericsson are starting to move towards the bot side of the map to try and facilitate for the carry.
So speaking about the roles on the map here, take a look at the bans. You can clearly see from the side of Nordavind what kind of role they are respecting here. And it's definitely the solo laners. Paulson and Nile share a champion pool in light of Akali and of Irelia. And on the other side, we talked about this. Sharp has been a strong point coming out over from the side of Nordavind, while Flipper is this facilitating jungler. So take away the junglers you know you're going to have a hard time playing into, and then challenging the rest of the champion pool.
Yeah, I think we've got some nice. Sorry, excuse me. We've got a lot of OP picks to open. Really, we saw the past 2 days. We've had a lot of attention on things like Talia and Italy, and even the Kaiser is the first pick. And this time around, I think it's an interesting take on the draft, because it means, you know, if you leave so many strong picks open, then sure, the enemy team will get one for the first pick, but then you take the rest in the next rotation, right? So curious to see if Trick decide to go down the alley and pick up some like a strong AD carry and or just if they want to go and match what they see so far.
Yeah, and I think the draft has really essentially highlighted how you set this game up, Gulborg. It's been, again, as you said, focus on Sharp for the bans, but then Sharp prioritized in the draft here for Nordavind. So now a lot of that weight lies on Sharp's shoulders. And I think one of the things that I think we need to keep our eyes on going into this game is the point that you highlighted, Gulborg. Is it going to be a jungle diffie? Is it going to be a diffie in the jiffy that kind of sets this game apart? Because I genuinely think a lot of the laners are relatively close in skill. So yeah, it's kind of what I'm now keeping my eyes on. Oh, nah, super early on here.
Yeah, so first off, let's take the Lily on the top. So I think this is great for a guy that used to be facilitating. It's one of the champions that Flipper has been playing in solo queue on this meta. He prefers Nidalee, he prefers Lilia, and we've seen what Nolty can do on this champion as well. He served the same role in the past where he was a facilitator, and Lilia can do the same with her sleep. But as you said yourself, the Gnar priority coming up from Nila here is insane. Yesterday, he did beat a Jace in this exact same matchup here where, like, the Jace was a counter pick to the Gnar, and he was doing just fine into it, but this is very overconfident, just blind picking it on B2.
Honestly, when Foxtrot was like, oh, you see all these overpowered picks like Olaf, Pantheon, Renekton, Talia has gone through. I'm like, mate, the most overpowered champion reigning the Rift right now is open and has been locked in for Nila to play in the top lane. Gnar has absolutely no counters from the actual active bruiser list at all in the top lane. The only thing that soft counters him is the Jace, but we saw yesterday, like Gulborg mentioned, the Gnar beat the Jace. And even if you want to go towards something like the Jace, you need to sort of reconstruct the entire idea that you had about the composition that you want to pick. So there should be a lot of swaps around. I really like that Nila insta-locks right there the Gnar, because you need to force Kerberos to go towards the Bruiser. He wants to go towards the Bruiser. He has the Camille. He has the setup. They want to be diving. Now, is that a Gragas support?
Perfect.
Hold on.
Yeah, this is it. Like, I don't. So Gragas is a great flex pick, but I think the only roles you can flex him into is like jungle on top, and your jungle on top's already been locked in. So that probably most likely is going to be the Gragas into the Alistar, which I think is a pretty good pick for going toe to toe against Alistar. They're both kind of big boys down there, and if Alistar wants to throw his horns forward, then Gragas responds with his belly forward, and it's kind of just like a soft counter in that way. I'm really interested to see as well, now that they opted into the support pick here for Tricked, if the priority there is we want to get a good support for this matchup. It does mean now they're going to get pinched in their ADC pool instead, so might not be able to have the luxury of picking what you want for Achu here. You did mention Trouble as well, though, that Achu likes to pick some more interesting things down there, maybe like the mages, so it doesn't necessarily have to be an AD carry, because we do have like the Jhin, the Aphelios still open, but you can definitely take a curveball here and pick something completely different.
I have to quote Orcs in our chat here. The Gragas Alistar matchup is pretty good for Alistar, because every time you walk forward, that's a body slam, and what Orcs called it is boop his moo. I think that's just amazing. Now, an AD carry that gone through here into Kaiser was Aphelios, which, to my understanding as well, I said this yesterday, great into champions like Kaiser. Whenever she wants to walk forward, you kind of beat her with the flamethrowers. Great with Kraken Slayer at the moment as well. I'd be very, very surprised if this side went through, but it actually does come through here.
It is so satisfying to see people picking Xayah yet again. The reason why Xayah and Kai'Sa were that popular back in 2019 and Worlds was going crazy about them as well is not only because, yes, sure, the build did fit them, the meta did fit them, but right now there's so much dive, there's so much survivability that you need to have in your kit as an ADC. Kai'Sa is extremely mobile, she has a shield, she has a dash, she has an extra dash, then she gets the Gale Force, an extra dash, but Xayah has the ultimate survivability tool on her ultimate to be able to evade these dives, to evade the backline. And Kai'Sa just loves diving the backline, especially against assassins. And look at that. The Yone has been locked in. Xayah's like, you can't touch this. This is beautiful. Achu, okay, I'm a big fan of Achu. I'm pausing it here.
So this is very interesting because they saved the last pick for Paulson, and usually they're like, "Oh, I'm blind picking mid. Let's just go for control mage." But Ericsson really lining up here, going for the Yasuo on a blind pick, and they go with the answer of a Victor here. Now, what's great about the kind of Victor pick and the champions you see on the side of Tricked is that you want them to walk forward in your feathers when you are a Xayah, and the same for this Victor. You want them to walk around in your Storm. You want them to go into your lasers. You kind of want to play extended team fights, and you can do that with the champions you've drafted on the side on Tricked Esports. And on the other side, like, I don't think there's much doubt what the champions of Nordavind sides need to do.
Okay, I was about to say, is there going to be a change in the top lane? So if you take it top to bottom, I'm honestly in love with the composition from the side of Tricked. I can see the thought process behind Nordavind. They have, an AD mid laner, an AD top laner. Literally, Sharp can choose and go wherever he wants, whilst the Kai'Sa and the Alistar will stay relatively safe, having the Alistar down there. If there's a threat coming, you can throw it away. But on the other hand, if you look at the lanes, is the king in the top lane. Lilia will have so much prior with the Victor pushing wave after wave. The Xayah and the Gargoyles will have a field day down the bot lane. Let's just not talk even about their team fight strength right now, because they have engaged, they got it. They want disengage, they got it. They want field control, they got it. It's like, I love that song. Trick draft was like, you like my draft? Gee, thanks. Just got it.
I'm a bit worried here for Curve in top, just because you're playing up against Gnar. Gnar really should beat the Wukong, and when there's a Taliyah on your side as well, like, you're trying to get, like, Wukong needs some help, but I really don't think that Gnar is going to be particularly gankable for Taliyah. So Curb's going to be in a bit of an island there, and I'm curious to see how that's going to play out for him.
I was waiting. I was waiting for the essay to get rolled out. He's going to go through each lane. Anyway, I'm wasting time now. I'm wasting time now. I'm going to hand it over to Orcs and hit Frame. We're going to our first game of the day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, guys, and hello. Welcome to the caster desk as we're getting ready to kick off day number 3 of the NLC. Nordavind taking on Tricked, and the Yone getting pulled out in the mid lane.
Yeah, pretty hype. I mean, a lot of players I've spoken to have said that they feel this champion is incredibly broken. So getting to see it brought out, confident pick, and hopefully looking to see that they can deliver, that Ericsson can deliver on it. I think it's a good matchup if he's going to be able to pressure a mid laner. Victor doesn't hold up too well against champions that are mobile and get up in his face. Very easy to dash forward, trade heavily onto him, dash back before he can apply the W. But if he isn't able to find pressure, if he does get punished, Paulson will scale incredibly well.
It's been a long time. This is the first time we've seen Yone in the UK and Nordics. It wasn't enabled on the patch we played the full open on. So this is actually the first time it's been enabled in one of our tournaments since he came out. And I believe he drew a couple of bans earlier on in the earlier days. Definitely did over in the UK LC at least. Our first time getting to see him. We'll see how this is going to work out. Overall, I'm really liking what Nordavind have got going here. Obviously, touch is going to be the only real front line they have. And obviously, it's kind of a pseudo front line when you're a support because you don't get all the gold to go into full support items, into full tanky items.
I feel like the way they're playing team fights, though, it's not like they're not playing them front to back. It's not like Alistair's going to sit there and soak damage while the rest of them. It's very much a dive-focused composition. They're looking for backline access. They're looking to challenge these carries in terms of the Xayah and the Victor. And honestly, Tricked have got a lot of tools to kite backwards. So in terms of answering out the dive, they've definitely got things to do so. My concern is one of the big things that took Xayah out the meta was how long the cooldown on her ultimate now is. And on top of that, Victor is a little bit vulnerable. So execution is going to be a massive factor here. I will say, like, Talia is really strong. I really like the Talia pick, but we often see a lot more setup. If you remember XL's game, there was like plenty of opportunities where someone stuns and then Talia can just easily do a combo. We don't have that here nearly as much.
All right, well, Wave's going to get pushed into Ericsson. Colson did a pretty good, decent job of shoving him in early. You would kind of expect this from the Victor, though, with the range to Rask and just poke Ericsson down.
Yeah, you need level 3 before Ericsson can actually do anything in return and, like, put any threat up. Has got the Doran shield, has got the fleet footwork, essentially the survivability duo just to get you through the laning phase. Yone's still a champion who does scale incredibly well. Obviously, similar to you still, the impact of the crit is huge. But that's the point there where you can dash in, knock a pulse and go back, and there's not really any reply you can do. So once you can start repeating that, you're in a strong position at the 6th. With the ultimate, that's where it gets really threatening.
Yeah. Once you can throw down that Fate Sealed, it can be quite frustrating with a double knock up from Yone. And then the big chunky shield he gets from his W. So up to Paulson to make sure he manages this lane pretty well. For the moment, Ericsson's doing a good job, like I said, with the survivability, sacrificing health, but is keeping up in CS, which I think is the key thing for him here. Is Kerberos trading into Nilly, as unfortunately we do have ourselves a light pause. But it's good to see Kerberos handling this Gnar early, but Mega Gnar is that level 6 when Gnar can feel really, really oppressive. We talked about it yesterday. You went off on a bit of a tangent yesterday, actually, about how you couldn't stand Gnar in Mega. So
I mean, he's just so strong. Like, he's been buffed because they don't want to buff Mini Gnar, because Mini Gnar is such a problem in competitive because ranged top laners just have been for a long time. It just completely shapes the meta if it's powerful. So they've kept Mini Gnar relatively weak, but then they just buffed Mega Gnar again and again and again and again, and it's hit like a breaking point where it's almost like 2 champions, and one of them's like S+ tier and the other's like a solid C. And, you know, actually, my personal opinion, the Wukong matchups, I feel like Wukong's actually all right there, just because he can dash in, trade with the Gnar quickly, and then he can, like, stealth out before the Gnar can really do too much to him. And obviously, Gnar doesn't want to jump after him and end up in melee range, because it'd be quite risky. So I think Kirb's actually in a position to do okay here, but yeah, I mean, I could have commented about the potential dive, but there's just no way they're going for that.
Yeah, like, they were set up, and had that been anyone other than an Alistar, I'd be like, this is quite scary. But actually, the fact is the Alistar, it's not something you really want to pull off and touch his team and get a sick. Actually,
no, that's great.
True
that's
Hero resets it for his jungler.
Definitely intentional, but I mean, Sharp won't be complaining.
Yeah. Well, they are falling a little bit further behind Achu and Baloo here. Crispberg and Touch. Obviously, with that threat and dive, even with the safety of the Alistar, it was still... They did have to sacrifice a little bit of farm so they didn't just get completely caught off guard. But now Sharp is down on this side of the map. See if he looks to set something up. There are a couple of pings going down, and Blue could be liable to a bit of a combo from Touch. Obviously, go straight in. They've got the seismic shove, and that is just the easiest first blood I've seen. Crispberg cashes in.
This is a lane where they have the setup. You're not really going to find this top or mid, but bot lane, Alistar, great to go in tandem with the Talia. Easy follow through, and it's actually pretty important that you go for the flash combo there, because it's really tricky for Alistar to play this lane. Gragas can very easily interrupt you, and if you do misplay on an engage, this is why they've been playing so passively and not doing too well on the lane, is because if you misplay an engage, you'll get shredded by Xayah Feathers, and you'll just end up going down. So waited for the jungler to be there, execute on the gank, get a kill, able to reset. Perfect stuff from Nordavind.
Well, Dragon is going to be a Cloud Dragon to start us off, so see if the teams do decide to put some attention into that one. But that kill is going to allow Crispberg to go back to base and get himself a serrated dirt. So most likely going to be the Gale Force Collector combo that we've seen pretty much in the majority of the games. I think we've only had one other Kai'Sa build where it was the
Kraken Slayer.
Kraken Slayer and Storm Razor.
I definitely think this is the game for the Gale Force.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of threat there is, things that you might have to dodge. I think every champion in the team has like high value skill shots you want to be avoiding. So I think it's kind of essential, especially if you want to be with your team diving in. The burst is bigger on the Gale Force from the active, whereas Kraken Slayer, like, it's great for shredding things, but realistically, if you're standing there just auto-attacking someone, like, chances are the team fight's not really going your way, or you've already won it, in which case it doesn't matter.
Well, it's going to get shoved in here. Flipper just making sure they do crash this.
It's good to see both junglers sort of assisting the bot lane. Not necessarily, and we obviously did see that gank, but a lot of assistance just showing presence, helping teams crash, which I think is pretty important and an underrated skill for junglers. More often than not, it's wave management that helps to secure a lead rather than just, oh, let's kill someone in the lane.
Yeah. Apart from that one dive, it's been a fairly chill one as Ericsson is just looking for a light trade onto Poulsen. Gets the shield off and one last knock-up. That's pretty nasty.
I mean, that's just why he's so frustrating. Especially like later in the game when the damage that's added from your E gets like a really high level. It's so frustrating because when he dives in, he does a ton of damage and the counterplay is limited. Especially when you look at Tricked. Oh, Kibros could be in trouble.
Oh, Curb, that was a little overeager. They got the lilting lullaby to put him to sleep and Flipper cashes in. Curb chases at the wrong time.
He had a ward. He had a ward in the tri-brush. Like, that ward was already there. I mean, I guess maybe he just saw it a little bit too late. But either way, this is one problem with the matchup, is that for Wukong to do well here, you have to go in on Gnar and trade, right? If you just stand there and let him auto you, you're going to lose. But the thing is, if the jungler turns up for Nordavind, Nilly just bounces away. The jungler turns up for Kerberos and he's committed, you're in for a bad time, as we saw.
Good stuff there. One kill apiece for these teams. Dragon did get picked up for Nordavind during that. So there was at least an answer out for the loss of Kerberos top side.
I'm going to either have an Ocean Soul or an Infernal. So pretty nice both. Scaling well into the late stage of the game. So nice to pick up that early Dragon. Both teams have strong options in the late game. It's more like a different identity in the composition rather than this team's better late than this team. So getting those early Dragons definitely important. And I think especially a Cloud Soul, not Cloud Soul, Cloud Dragon, like that ult CDR can come in really useful in the laning phase, especially when you have long cooldown ultimates like a Choose Featherstorm. Denying a reduction on that can be quite nice to do.
It's interesting seeing these trading patterns. Poulsen actually might just get caught out. They got the fate sealed. The flash by Poulsen is able to survive that one. And that time, Ericsson takes the bad end of the trade. Meanwhile, in the top side, Nilly trading the Curb, goes for the slam back. Curb actually gets the Q off in time to make sure he doesn't get knocked into the wall. But Nilly will come out on top from this trade.
Yeah, you can't trade with Mega Gnar. That much is very distinctly obvious. Don't mess with the big Gnar. And now he's on pretty low HP. He isn't really in a position where he can do too much. It was a nice play, though. I like the play mid to get the flash from Poulsen. Ultimately, they only commit 2 ultimates, but the flash will be down for far longer.
Yeah.
And with the Cloud Dragon, those ultimates come up even sooner. How great is that?
See, I don't think Cloud Dragon's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Pretty good.
I mean, I think the thing is, like, when Cloud Dragons were bad not even last year, like the year before, it was kind of because it was when dragons were a lot more valuable individually. Then they nerfed Infernal Dragons. Like, they cut them in half. So it kind of really lost a lot of value compared to what it used to be. And now it's all about the souls. And obviously, a lot of people feel like Cloud Soul, there's different viewpoints on which soul is better than the others. I think everyone agrees Infernal is just incredibly good. But I think for sure, individual dragons, Cloud's actually pretty decent. And it's not too hard to take. I swear Ocean Dragon just does so much damage. It's
the
annoying.
Slow. It's so horrible, the slow. One thing to note, though, is Nordavind swapped their bot side to the top lane to make sure they could get this Rift Herald. And Flipper just took it. Achi just got loads of free time alone in the lane. Gets some solo experience, some solo farm to himself. And sure, he's down like 2 CS to Chrisberg right now. But him getting all that free time is really, really nice for himself. With Flipper with the Herald in his pocket, we'll see where he decides to go and throw that down. Ericsson may just be looking for Poulsen here, catches him with a Fate Sealed, gets him with a knock-up, and Poulsen just gets chunked out so heavily by Ericsson.
Yeah, no TP as well for Poulsen, so won't be able to just easily get back in lane, but ultimately does survive that all-in. I think maybe the decision was coming out from Nordavind to swap, potentially just to give Kerberos and Nisha time, but it's not really helping at all. He's not having a fun time in this lane, and this tower's just going to go down, so Jerk's pulling out ahead already.
He went from ranged lane to ranged lane there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we saw last year a lot, is that teams would swap religiously on that sort of 8-minute mark for the Herald spawn, and both teams would be swapping. And then we saw a move away from that where you just sort of roam the support up, and eventually sort of developed to this point where largely just do the priority on dragons, but you kind of see junglers just start it up by themselves a lot sooner.
Oh, nearly the flash was beautiful. Touch goes in as well. Seismic Shove not going to hit his mark, and Nilly played that excellently.
Yeah, I mean, touch has to be quicker. You have to predict that flash if you're going to land it in time. Nearly dodging everything there, and the end result is they're not going to get this tower in time. It's so much higher on HP. They're not going to be able to match the trade. At least the kill would have been a consolation, but they don't even get that.
But the flash from Nilly is the one silver lining you can draw from that. And it did get a plate, I guess. So it's not the end of the world. Not particularly what they wanted. You can see the individual gold on your screen right now. It's 200 up over Chrisberg. Mid lane, pretty much dead even. The top lane, there is a big difference starting to accrue here. Kerberos, his return since his stint over in the Prime League. Not had the greatest game 2 here at the NLC. Is Nilly looks to find out Ericsson, and Ericsson is just going to have to use the Mortal Shield dash, Mortal Steel dash to get away.
I mean, this was the priority on the Nod. They opted into this one early. He's just doing what he wants at the moment, going where he pleases. So fast, but he's significant lead considering 30 minutes. 2,000 is nothing to shy away from, and we have the Moonstone complete on the Lilia. We have the CDR boots as well. This is a great early spike, but you can see Tricked are focused on the gold, Nordavind are focused on the dragons. 2 is fine to give away, no problem with that, but it does mean that if Tricked end up relying on a soul win condition, they're going to be waiting for a long time.
And it is that Infernal Drake. So real big power spikes actually to these members of Chu, though. Will cash in on the second tower for his team, and actually will be most likely picking this up with plates. So that's a lot of plate gold that Chu's been able to pick up, and I'm glad we get to see that now. An 800 gold lead for a Chu over Chrisberg. Actually, a 900 gold lead.
I think Nilly can win that.
Yeah, look at the fight here. Slipper puts a couple of members to sleep, tries to jump away, but Kerberos is on him with the Cyclone, able to find the kill. Chu now looking for Sharp. Ericsson does have the ultimate, and they all are lined up at the moment. Gets himself the W shield off, but everybody else is dead, and Ericsson not going to take that ulti. Is just going to have to take a bit of an L there. 2 kills over to the side of Tricked, while Chrisberg's going to get some free time down in the bot side. Wave will time out, but he should be able to take this tower fairly soon.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a pretty heavy commit onto Flipper, and it's initially successful, but the TP's there to come in. Chrisberg obviously doesn't have TP, he's not going to match, and they know they're not going to be able to match up to this fight. Have to disengage, but they're not given an opportunity. Blue landed a great body slam, and it's an easy clean up for Tricked. Nordavind going for a fight that they were never going to win. And you can't argue, well, they got the tower on the other side, but at the end of the day, they're still 3,000 gold down. Tricked are still feeling confident about their game so far.
I think it's a good point to kind of take a step back and figure out where exactly we are in the game. There is a pretty big gold lead now starting to build up for Tricked. Chu has farmed up a Storm right now. Got the Gale Force, got the Warhammer in the inventory. Double Dragons, though, on Nordavind does mean that they are eking ever closer towards that Infernal Soul, which would be a massive spike in power for themselves. Ericsson hasn't finished up his mythic item yet, but had optimized into the boots as touch dies. So that gold lead grows another 300 gold.
Not quite sure how that happened. Dying solo to the Kaiser. Bit rough. Yeah, I mean, I can't really comment, didn't see what happened, but it shouldn't really be happening at this point in the game, especially in Alistair. So just more gold being funneled into the side of Tricked, and these two compositions have different ways they want to play the fight. You know, we talked about one wants to dive, one wants to kite back. If Nordavind's dive is successful and they find those carries, they can still win from a deficit, but it's looking worse and worse. It's going to be harder and harder.
Oh, no, Curb. Oh, no, Curb. You're going to sleep. You're going for the long sleep, friend. Sharp will come in with a seismic shove, and Curb gets a Cyclone off. Actually flashes away to safety as Baloo looks to come in, and suddenly this has just gone really right. Nordavind able to keep their top laner alive, but Tricked still have the inside on that Rift Herald, and they will be able to pick that one up. No real answer going to be able to come out from Nordavind right now. Chrisberg's on the opposite side of the map. The second Rift Herald in the pocket of Trick. This should just be mid lane tier 1 falling down.
Nordavind have just moved into like a turtling defensive mode. They're okay to do so. Like I said, it's not like they're going to fall off the cliff or anything. They keep up in terms of scaling. And they have 2 dragons in the pocket, which means they're not worried about Soul. But you can very much see they're putting Chrisberg bot lane because they want to get farm on him. They don't really want to engage in the fights right now. They're kind of getting forced into them by Tricked. And when it happens, they're not exactly doing great, but they managed to get away from that one without losing any lives. But the Herald, again, in the hands of Tricked. And this gold lead, 4,500 now at 17 minutes is massive. Like, this is looking like a really dominant performance so far from Tricked. The question is going to be, when are Nordavind going to opt back in? Because they don't need to specifically anytime soon. But at some point, they need to say, right, we're done waiting. We need to actually make a conscientious effort to win this game.
Yeah. Well, Dragon spawning up in 40 seconds. Obviously, Nordavind can give this up. Ericsson using his clone to be able to put himself in a position to farm safely. So he will spot out some wards here with the sweeper.
But be careful, though. Achu's just been... I mean, the fact Achu can just be where he is right now is insane. Like, look where Nordavind are, and look where Achu is. Look how deep he was pushing that tower, but he's just not afraid. He's playing Xayah. He's got cover from Baloo, who has a ton of disengage. It kind of just shows how much the map is kind of being cut in. Nordavind don't control very much outside of the towers. They are very limited that. And the only reason they're starting to control outside of the mid lane is because they brought 4 members here. They need 4 members to have some semblance of control.
Well, this charge is going to go down. Actually, not actually going to result in the tower falling. It's going to be very low. But good job by Nordavind to be able to get the damage in to keep that one going. We might see a bit of a contest here. The Gnar bar will start to build up slowly. Dragon's already been started, but Gnar won't be stacked in time for it if a fight breaks out. And Sharp's doing his best to zone Nilly off. They're going to put the Weaver's Wall up just to break him up. And that's Nilly separated from the team, but can just hop over the wall. Nordavind, they really want to get this third dragon. They want to keep this soul win condition alive for themselves as Touch goes in. That's going to be an ulti onto one as Flipper's already got a kill onto Kerberos. Dragon's still resetting. Ericsson very, very low and caught in the pit. Has to flash away. And Chrisberg now jumped onto Achu. Chrisberg has to flash as Achu finishes him up with a Feather Storm. That was just a whitewash for Trick. And they will get their first dragon.
I mean, the only consolation for Nordavind right now is Baron's not up, so it can't be taken. But that was honestly a crushing victory for Tricked. And you can see Nordavind had the plan to engage in the backline. And yes, there's a goal deficit, but this was a misexecution. Touch comes in with a combo here, ends up misplaying it with the flash. You can see, ends up looking at Baloo and Flipper, but knocks Flipper away. Then the follow-up comes from the Yone ult, but it only hits Baloo. They don't get on their critical targets. This fleet from Lilia does a great job of disrupting. And at that point, the fight's already over. No other way to cut it. Nordavind missed. You miss those skill shots, you miss those abilities, you lose. That's literally how it's going to go. And now they're 6,000 gold behind. So it may well get to the point where even if they hit those skills, they're still going to lose because they're so far behind now. But ultimately, I was talking about when are they going to go for a big fight to get back in the game. That was looking to be it. And it was misexecution from behind. It's never going to work.
And that just puts Tricked in a much better position. They don't have to worry about the next dragon being Soul for Nordavind. They have control with the gold and on the map right now. All these outer turrets down. Just looking at the inners. Chrisberg still trying to farm up towards his collector. 425 gold off it though, so should be able to catch it in a couple more waves for himself. However, if we do switch back to where Achu's at, it's already got that Gale Force finished up. Curious to see what the next item is. Yes, the Essence Reaver is the next item. I've seen a few different builds on the Xayah. I'm curious to see which one Achu will go for. Oh my lord.
Oh yeah, I mean, goodbye.
Touch is going to try and save the day here. Sharp actually is able to get away.
Yeah, it's enough. They don't want to commit too heavily into that. I mean, they don't need to. Why would Trick risk this game? They're so far ahead. There's just no need. I'm struggling to see what Kerberos offers now. Obviously, his Cyclone's pretty impactful in the fight, but versus the Gnar, I mean, that's the goal.
That's my worry.
A lot of champions don't do too great into Gnar in the later stages. So obviously our champs who do well, but he's a bit of a menace in the side lane. Even with his weakened mini Narf form, once he gets items, it's just, unless you can all in him, he's just going to harass you down.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of this Wukong was, it's okay in a Gnar in the laning phase. You can trade with him. Obviously that got punished by Flipper, and then he did end up falling behind. But there's supposed to be this backline dive. You can picture a world where Touch gets a combo onto the Xayah and the Victor, and then Ericsson comes in with his ult, Kerberos is ulting, knocking everyone up, Crispig flies in. You can very much picture what the composition wants to do. But executing it's a very different thing. And I will say, in terms of ease of execution, Trick definitely have the favor in that regard. Their comp is, if our backline doesn't die, we win. Whereas Nordavind needs to do so much
Ericsson
more.
Trying to jump away, but the feathers have been set up, and he's just going to.
You have to go back.
Death. Going to see if he can get a shield off, see if he can get a turnaround, but it's not going to be enough. And Chu is on a rampage.
I'm not sure why he didn't ult.
Yeah, maybe if he'd ulted, when he could have come in and saved the day.
I mean, but what I mean is when you come back on your E, just ult away. Like, it's a gap closer. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's saving it for the Baron attempt, but chances are it's going to be taken before you're even there. So either way, Pick leads into a Baron attempt. Nordavind have to fight 4v5 with a massive deficit.
Well, the wall actually will split them off, and Nilly on that side about to gnar out, so they're going to try and get the damage off in time before he goes big. Nilly gets the wallet back, 3 members caught out. Chrisberg will find himself the kill in response. Hit by the bowling ball, lilting Lullaby, ready to fire. His Touch gets a 2-man knock-up. Sharp's firing over the wall. It's a 1-for-1 so far. And the Yone's back alive. Blue does dodge away on that Void Seeker from Chrisberg. And overall, Nordavind can be pretty happy with that one.
It was 2-for-1, not 1-for-1.
2-for-1, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, you're a man down. They're going to start the Baron. I'd be happy with that situation. But, yeah, it's really rough just because Nilly's approaching from such a good position every time. Him being there means they can never go forwards. Even with the great wall split in the team, they have to deal with Nilly. Touch, a little bit tenuous as to you knocking him that close to Crispig. Crispig does have the dashes to get away. But it's still just Trick's backline untouched, able to move forward, able to shred. I mean, you look at the end of that fight, Paulson and Chu still full health. Still got their flashes. Well, I mean, a Choose is coming up soon, but didn't use anything significant. And they just really been untouched. And as long as they remain untouched, Nordavind aren't going to win any fights.
Oh my lord, a Chu is so scary right now. Chrisberg wants nothing to do with him. It's getting closer and closer towards that Hurricane, so the 3rd item on the Kai'Sa. Get the Supercharge evolved. I don't think it's quite evolved yet. But even so, he's going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable. But the problem now is the Dragons are starting to stack up in favor of Trick. That's double Infernal Drake. So big damage boost coming in now. And that equalizes out the Dragon score.
I mean, that is, again, if this game had been going worse, Trick could have had Infernal Soul now. That's like the only consolation prize for Nordavind. They have time. In another situation, they may not have had time. So at least there's something here to go on, but still looking rough. Still 4,500 behind. The item difference, it's not too bad between the 80 carries altogether. Yes, I choose ahead, but Crispig's doing okay. But Ericsson, for example, hasn't even finished his 2nd item at this point. You're looking at Nulty, who's on 1 item compared to Flipper on 2. It's, yeah, I mean, massive deficits. And it's really on Crispig to carry these fights, and it's difficult for him to do so, because difficult for him to make his way in. Yes, he's got that extra dash from the Gale Force, but I think you need a lot more than that.
Infinity Edge now finished up onto a Chu, so... Moonstone on Flipper as well, so is that kind of more supportive build. Has gone for a Zhonya 2nd, not the Staff of Flowing Water.
Heresy.
Wants a bit of survivability for himself. I assume the Staff of Flowing Water will be the next item.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, it makes sense. Staff of Flowing Water, as much as, you know, the combo is hyped up, it's more for luxury. Moonstone is, like, super important, getting your Mythic and the healing huge. Staff of Flowing Water is really powerful to combo with it, but you don't do very much when you're dead. So Zhonya is important for preventing that all-in combo from Nordavind.
Judas threatening Touch, but the Dragon's getting started up, and it is mowed down pretty quickly there. Flipper and Nilly able to burn through it. Everybody else has kind of been caught sleeping. Ericsson uses the clone, so now he's even further away from the pit. They're teleporting in, and Nordavind too slow to the fight, but they're looking to go in.
There's a combo.
Cyclone. Here comes the ulti. Not going to hit onto anyone. Crispberg slides into the backline, looking for a chew, able to take him down, but it's already a triple kill. And Sharp puts the wall up in the wrong direction. Flipper will chase Sharp down. The slow from the bowling ball is going to be enough, and the seismic shove has just gone way too wide. It's an ace for Tricked.
Could well actually be the game here. I don't think they're going to push for it. You can see they've split up to push multiple waves, so they're not going for it right now. But 20 seconds on timers with Baron buff, that could have been it. But I think even if they're not ending the game right now, that may well have been the nail in the coffin for Nordavind. It was just kind of, it was a Hail Mary. You know, it was. They had the Baron. You're like, if we let them get away with this Baron, it's so doomed. They had to go for the engage, and it seemed like they're hitting things at first, but we'll have to break it down in the replay. So a better engage, definitely a better one than we've seen before. But the problem is, because they were doing Baron, Nilly is ready with his Gnar, and he is devastating on this one. He's already full rage, he's already in Mega. They go for the engage here, and you can see the knockup comes in. It's a really strong one, but then they're all against this wall. 3 members knocked into it and stunned down. They're instantly decimated. And then you saw Crispberg dive in the backline and kill a Chew. Great. That's a 1-for-1 when your team's already lost the fight. And it was just beautiful execution. And Nilly on this Gnar has honestly been stellar. You can see what the priority's there for him. He's doing so much work on this champion.
Well, we also saw Ericsson, again, not really hit anyone with his ultimate. He got caught by the Gnar as he threw it out as well. So far, we haven't had that big, impactful Yone ult that we were kind of hoping to see from this pick. And Chu was just able to mop up the fight, even with his dying breath, find a triple kill. He's going to take down this tower. Crispberg is looking to hold mid for the moment, but Baron's still on 4 of the members for Tricked, and waves are getting thinned through. You can see there's a push from Ericsson topside, trying to threaten something. He might lose his base for a tier 2 top. Oh, no. Oh, my lord. Sharp is deleted in 3 auto attacks.
I mean, they will just end.
What? Ericsson, what are you doing, man? Crispberg gets chucked out. Crispberg gets put to sleep, has to cleanse.
Hey, guys, the back. How's it going?
I am a little lost for words on why Ericsson traded the base for a tier 2. Looking for the knockup from Touch, is going to find it. The Yone ult hasn't come out yet, and that's just been the cow going down. Kerberos comes in for the big knockup. Now they're looking for that big Yone ult.
There it is.
Now they're looking for that big turnaround, but the Featherstorm comes through in time, and Nilly is doing so much work. Kerberos takes out a Chew on the backline as Crispberg is firing away. We have a pause.
Oh, my lord. Oh, that is not a good time for a pause, I'll say that.
Wow. Yeah,
it's
unfortunately, these things happen.
Yeah, I mean,
a little tilting, but you know, is what it is. But yeah, that was a much better. We finally got
Yeah, I'm just looking at the minimap.
Yeah,
I just noticed Victor's walking back to his base.
Oh no.
Probably definitely a factor in that team fight, and that's ultimately really unfortunate for the side of for Tricked. Honestly, I think that was the best engage you've seen from Nordavind so far.
Yep. Ericsson finally landed a big ultimate.
Yeah,
Finally.
And you saw a Chew get nearly killed solely by the combo. Did just survive, but then Kerberos cleaned him up. And the thing is, yes, it was really unfortunate that we had a DC from the Victor, but ultimately, you know, if the gold was closer, that is the sort of engage you're looking at. You know, if the gold was closer, even with Victor there, that probably would have gone well. Ultimately, you know, Victor was there. Who knows what would have happened, but at least Nordavind is still trying, and that was the moment you have to try. That's like where you have to go for it. Just to take stock, by the way, because obviously Talia died earlier. She's 7 seconds from coming back up and does have the ultimate. So it's kind of going to be like with the distance victors, it's like both of them will be arriving and ready to join the fight at the same time. Yeah, so this still could be anyone's. Still pretty close.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to see how this goes. We've got it paused on our screens right now. Nilly is chasing Kerberos, and I just think Kerberos is dead. Like, you just know on roughly the same health, which means Gnar wins. Flipper versus Crispberg is also kind of going on. It's a bit of a
I think
fight on 2 fronts.
I think Crispberg wins against Flipper. Crispberg's pretty fed.
Yeah, he should do.
And I think Nilly would definitely kill Kerberos, but I don't think Kerberos. I think Kerberos knows that, and he's trying to get away. So you know, the Wukong's quite slippy, whereas Flipper's like in a position where he knows he's not getting away. He's going for the fight. So my estimation, Chrisberg kills Flipper. Kerberos manages to navigate away from Nilly. And then I think, you know, we'll just see Talia turn up and it'll kind of be like a disengage or reset. Dragon is coming up soon, so that'll probably be the next priority. This is going to slow Trick's game down, but ultimately they are still massively ahead.
They are, yeah,
and like
absolutely.
I said,
Miles.
This was like a really good engage for Nordavind. And I think it's kind of showing the difficulty of the composition. You need everything to sort of go right. And then even when it does, if you're behind, it doesn't necessarily work like cleanly. So they need this and a bit more if they want to come out ahead in this game.
One other cool thing that is completely irrelevant is we paused as Flipper smited Chrisberg, and that looks, I've never seen a smite paused. It looks really cool. Big lightning bolt shooting down. Does look like we should be getting back in fairly soon. The reconnect has come through. We apologize for having a pause in the middle of a pretty hypey team fight, which may or may not decide if the game ends in the next couple of minutes. But yeah, this is definitely been a very dominating game from Trick, and considering pretty much everybody but Gulborg voted for Trick to win this one, not the expected outcome.
Yeah, I think a lot of people I think the general consensus was that Nordavind looked pretty strong in their first game. I think Tricked definitely were really good last split, but I think people felt like the roster, some of the players, likes of Flipper, maybe less experience in comparison to what they had before, but they've really been showing the stuff in this one, showing that there's a lot of cohesion between the players and doing really solid. So credit to them. Even if this game does go downhill from here, who knows what would happen if we didn't have the DC, but I think either way we could say this was a really strong performance from them, and they still look to be in the driving seat.
Absolutely. I will be keeping my eyes on this Dragon. Obviously, like you said, Jungler probably dying, Dragon coming up fairly soon, and Jungler on the side of Nordavind is going to be spawning up, so could see if Dragon get picked up for them here. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. The pause is still a little bit ongoing, so a little bit more time for us to talk about everything.
Just for anyone who's wondering, any of the viewers who are thinking about things like Chrono Break, which obviously they do in the major leagues, it's not a tool available to us, so there's no sort of possibility of that going to happen, unfortunately. Would be ideal, but it's a pretty complicated system to have in place, and it would be pretty wild if you know every single league had it. So we will just be playing on for this point. We are looking to unpause pretty soon, and it'll just be continued as is. Again, really unfortunate for Tricked. Can't really be helped. Just gonna have to see what happens. They are still ahead in gold, but yeah.
Well, we're heading back into the action. You can see here, Nilly actually looks to turn around, trying to see if he can spot out Flipper. Chrisberg is going to be running away as Kerberos actually gets himself a shutdown. Now Chrisberg's in for a whole world of hell. He's going to try and heal up, but will actually lose his life as Paulson rejoins, and not quite what we expected looking at that play.
Yeah, I think the initial Q that came out from Flipper really did a ton of damage. Either way, we still see Flipper go down. Chrisberg goes down in return. Dragon's up, and they should be able to pick this up. So this will still be third Dragon for Trick. There's still 8,000 gold up. Still very much in the lead, still very much ahead. And I think it's kind of waiting for resets and looking potentially to make another push. Baron is up in 2.5 minutes, so they could well just wait for that one.
Yeah. Could very well be the play. Ericsson has now respawned. It's Chrisberg up in 16 seconds. Like I said, Baron coming up in about 2 minutes' time. And I think for the side of Nordavind, it's just catch some waves, maybe try and get the IE finished up onto Chrisberg. See if Ericsson can get closer towards his Infinity Edge as well. Do you remember the Yasuo Rageblade build we had at the beginning of
Yeah, it was Yasuo and Yone before they nerfed it heavily.
Awful. Let's have a little look at this fight once again in the base.
So I want to see specifically when Paulson actually DCs, but you see this great engage comes out from touch, and I think Paulson's already walked, there. So he's disconnected right at the start of the fight. They actually managed to kill the Alistair, and then the engage comes in now, and he's gone there. But tons of damage to a Chu basically dead off the start, and Kerberos finishes him up, and this is sort of the point where we got to that pause right there. And then the continuation here, so Flipper not confident he can finish off Chrisberg, and he lets Nilly handle it, and both the top laners just clean up. But yeah, really unfortunate the timing for Paulson to GC. And I think it was quite evident that Trick didn't realize initially, because they just continued playing despite the fact he'd stopped moving.
Ericsson does have the Bloodthirster, so we'll be able to heal back up from that fight with Chu. Chu now got the rapid fire cannon finished up as well, so a bit of extra range.
I mean, in fairness, only a BF sword above Crispberg. You know, it's not a massive difference between AD carries. That's not really where I'm seeing the difference. It's everywhere else.
Yeah.
It's problematic. Actually, here's the thing. Observer, can you please mouse over Moonstone? I want to see those numbers.
You're obsessed.
3659. I've seen bigger. Like, it's decent, but I've seen some crazy numbers. And I've seen like team fights where you buy the item, you get in a team fight, you finish a team fight, and it's done like 2,000, 3,000. It's nuts. But oh, Crispberg looking for Flipper. Or the wave.
A little optimistic considering the whole team are about. Thinking about it.
If you can't see them, they're not there. The bronze strategy of League of Legends. That ward, critical placement. Whenever you're sweeping, you got to check that because people will often place it outside because any control wards in the pit won't see it. And you should be sleeping. Oh, sleep comes in there.
Yeah, it's only going to land on the curb, and curb's okay. So Lilting Lullaby now down. Do you at least pop the Banshees finally on Sharp for that second bowling ball? Wave's starting to stack up in the bot side. A couple of super minions are down there, so someone will have to go deal with that. But obviously the attention right now is this Baron pit. Ward finally dies outside the pit, and at this point, Nordavind now lose all vision of the area.
They still have 2 Scryers, and they can see this has started up because the Scryer had just gone down before, so they know this is happening, but it's so fast.
It's so quick. The Weaver's Wall's coming in. Sharp's going to see if he can steal this one away. Can he do it? No, he cannot. Now everybody's jumping in. A Chu completely untouched on the sideline. Crispberg gets a big shield off. Big knockup comes down, and Crispberg still too low to continue this fight, and this is Tricked just running away with it. Kerberos will lose his life, and Nordavind just slowly but surely forced out of the area, and they will lose the fight and lose the Baron.
Still a close fight, all things considered. With that goal deficit, though, it just wasn't quite enough to finish them out. It's a 2-for-1 trade, so Nordavind will be able to get back to defend, but the Baron was secured by Tricked, and they are pushing to look to finish the game out. No ultimate on Ericsson makes them a lot less useful. Gonna need a miracle here to save the game.
Yeah, there really are. Only 1 turret left, and it is just melting right now. Crispberg doesn't have ulti, so he can't even jump onto the back line. Sharp's doing his best to put some damage in, but look at the damage that Achu is doing. Ericsson jumps in. They have got touch, and Crispberg is deleted. Ericsson still no ultimate. They do find a kill onto 1, but Ericsson now having to jump away with the Q and the Gale Force. Everybody just running towards him. Nilly will close the game with the minions. And Nordavind get taken out by Tricked. 25 kills to 8.
Dominant performance, honestly, especially when you're considering the fact that, I mean, we can't really say, I don't want to comment on it more, but there was a DC, but either way, Tricked looked in control from start to finish. It felt like the composition was drafted to deal with the dive that was available to Nordavind, and they were just convincing throughout. Nilly, in particular on the Gnar, you can see why they prioritized it so heavily. He was dominant on that pick.
Well, you know, Ghoulborg's going to be smug about this one. We're going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll let him be smug. See you in a second.